let's start with first the John Wick 4 trailer. It looks kind of good. I think I'm going to see the movie. I've decided. I'm going to go.
That's good. I'm glad. We're already trying to push that audience into the theater.
Exactly.
Hopefully
So,
it'll be something good in Steve.
you have a release date of March. I'm sure everyone is wondering, where are you in the editing process?
As we sit, I'm about to go to my next DI session. We're pretty close. The picture is pretty much locked. We're just getting in our VFX and doing our coloring, and we're starting our sound mix in a week or two. So we're in the final death throes.
Is it going to be the longest of all the movies?
It has the longest runtime of all the movies. Hopefully, it won't feel the longest of all the movies.
Listen, if you released a 4-hour version of this movie, I'd be the first one in theaters, but most people can't take that. Is there a little bit of it, like, how do you guys, or how do you debate as a director? Because there's a lot of people that love a 2-hour movie, but I'm fine with a 2.5 or a 3-hour as long as it justifies its running time. So can you sort of talk about, was there a big debate in terms of how long this movie was going to be?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's where commerce meets art, right? It's always going to be that. And you'll hear the excuses about more trailers, more showings, more stuff like that. Like I get, I don't agree with that argument, but I get it. I think the main thing is like, look, I'm from a different generation. I'm with you. As long I could watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid all day long. I watch Lawrence of Arabia in one sitting. I can literally watch, and I have watched in less than a weekend, the entire Peter Jackson extended cut of Lord of the Rings on all 3 films, and I'm good, and I soak it up. Yeah, there's slow spots and there's all that kind of stuff. I get that. Look, we know there's a certain kind of pacing for action movies. We get that there's a certain kind of appetite for, and luckily we have a little bit of margin because we have a little bit of world building with the action in John Wick. Look, I've watched this thing now, this version of the cut, close to 100 times, and another 100 by the end of the month at least. And this is the first one that we watch, and we kind of, I don't get bored at all. Like, it's my own film. I know it's weird to say, but like, I watch it and I'm like, oh, like I'm still in the movie. It doesn't take me out. I don't ever feel like, fuck, just end this thing already. I can't watch it again. You know what I mean? Other than my other misgivings of choices and scenes and writing, all that stuff, I feel pretty good about it. And when Keanu and I and the really tight circle that I have around us, we've watched, like, every week we have a little group. Let's just watch it one more time to make sure we're not talking ourselves into something. And as long as that gut feeling feels good, like, what else do you go with, right? Like, I can't go off somebody else's gut feeling. And I've had people who I trust, and they'll say, well, it's too long, cut 20 minutes out. And you're like, okay, that's your feeling, that's your opinion. If I go with anybody else's opinion other than mine, which I haven't done in any other decision in the movie, where's that going to go? I mean, we wrote a longer movie. We wrote a bigger movie. We wrote a longer script. We wrote, at least a third more scenes than the last one. Like, we expect it to be more. We've always expected it to be more. And I think the test, or at least what we're judging ourselves by, is that worth it with how we executed what we wanted to be more? And I think the answer is yes. Like, so if I watched it, and I have a pretty good endurance like you, but if I watched it, I went, yeah, no, I don't. I start looking at my watch. I know it's time to cut, but I don't look at my watch in this. So I feel pretty good where it's at.
Last question on the runtime. Do you want to tell me how long it is?
Still not entirely determined, and I'd hate to give you a number because I haven't given the studio the overall number yet. So I want to give them the number first.
Sure. Can I ask you, is it close to 2.5 hours, or
it's in that zone? It's in that zone. I think, I'm different. Like, the definition of runtime is that first logo to that last credit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the movie itself, I know what it runs at. I don't know the full runtime because I don't know the credit scroll and all the other stuff that's going in. So you'd have to add on that. But it's in the zone of, yeah, it's in that, it's over the 2-hour mark, but it's under a lot of the other big marks. So.
I understand. I'm just gonna, when I do a story, I'm just gonna say it's around 2.5 hours because it sounds like that's probably what it is.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, we're somewhere in there.
So right now the trailer says it's called John Wick Chapter 4. Is that the final title, or are you going to add a word the way you did?
It's a work in progress right now. We're trying to find the right theme, and hopefully it'll work out the way we thought. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, that's a working title. We still have the proper title to come out yet.
In the trailer, and I'm going to ask you some questions about the trailer. Is that John Wick's mom in the trailer?
John Wick's mom. Which one's John Wick's mom?
Well, I'm just asking. There's a woman, which near the fight, like where the box that's on fire with the glowy thing, and it's because Winston says something about your family. You know, your.
Oh no, Natalie. No. No. Not no.
I mean, by the way, I'm just taking stabs here.
I would say, kind of like in the familiar zone, kind of like a stepsister. I wouldn't call her a stepsister, but like in the zone of that. Yeah, it's his former family. Yes.
In the trailer, there is a huge action set piece. It looks like around the Arc de Triomphe, and I'm just curious, what the hell is it like filming a huge action set piece in one of the most popular tourist destinations in Europe?
I would say the greatest word would be tricky, very tricky. Obviously we do what we can where we're at, and then we try to movie magic our way through some of the trickier stuff. But yeah, it's, we had amazing location diversity on the Scout, from Sacre-Cœur, the Arc de Triomphe, to the Louvre, to, the Eiffel Tower, to some amazing places throughout. I mean, we're in Aqaba, Jordan for our opening sequence. Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, Osaka. We kind of got around on this one, so hopefully we brought all that great imagery to screen.
Did you actually get to film in the Louvre?
We actually shot in the Louvre, yes.
Is there action in the Louvre?
I didn't push it quite that far. Let's just say we shot a really cool scene in the Louvre. They got a little weird. You start shooting and blowing shit up next to a Caravaggio, they get a little edgy. But no, they were wonderful. They let us come in and do a great scene there.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a dialogue scene, because I don't think they want you touching or risking anything.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, they were. I mean, that's the first thing they asked you, and they kind of laughed, like, "You're not going to shoot anything, are you?" I was like, "I don't know, can I?" Right. And they're like, "I was like, just kidding. We just want to shoot the Louvre."
Right. Who does Bill Skarsgård actually play in the film?
His character's name is his broad name is the Marquis. The Marquis is like, without giving too much away, I wouldn't really say the antagonist, but he's the one in charge of cleaning up all the messes from the first three movies.
Right. It does seem like in the trailer, it makes it seem like there's a little bit of a reboot of the pecking order.
Yep, complete reboot of the pecking order. He's being brought in to reset the calendar.
There's a scene, I want to make sure I got this right. There's a scene where Bill, Donnie, Keanu, and Lawrence are sitting around a table near the Eiffel Tower. And Bill is saying the table will honor its word. I know that location, assuming that there's no green screen there. Like, that's a really...
No, that's the real deal. That's the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's where, for people that don't realize, that's where they did the Mission Impossible red carpet, right around there. So what was it like filming there and having these great actors with the Eiffel Tower in the background?
It's always good. I don't tell my cast too much. I kind of give them the setting. We have a little chat. But there's nothing like, it's 5 a.m. We're just setting up the lights. It's still dark out. They get out of the car. We're going to do our read through. And then, they get out of the SUV, and it's, the fucking Eiffel Tower right there and this great table. And like, okay, guys, let's warm it up. It kind of, you do all these read throughs in these studio rooms beforehand, and you kind of do your little acting rehearsals. But when you really see it, that was like my Barry Lyndon set where, I don't know if you remember Barry Lyndon, but like big fan of the Kubrickian way he did that. So we placed everybody in this really, really Renaissance kind of way. And this is, when you explain that in a room, in an office, it's one thing. But when you see it with the Eiffel Tower and the symmetry, they all started to get the symmetry and the artistic nature of what we're trying to do when they get there. And there's nothing like seeing their faces when they go, "Oh, I get what you're saying now." Okay. It's pretty cool.
You have dogs in the trailer, and dogs have played a big part of the John Wick movies. And with Halle Berry, there was a lot of dog stuff. How is it in this movie? Is it on that same level, or is it just sort of, it's a part of the movie?
It's a part of the movie. It's slightly different, but when the dog does her thing, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. So it's a different character that has a different type of dog, and how they use him is a little differently. So
Halle spent a lot of time with the dogs and training, and you taught the dogs that this is a movie and you can play. How long did you work with her, the new dog, to get ready?
Well, the character of the dog is a her, but we had, let's see, 3 females and 2 male dogs to comp all one dog together, depending on what the stunt or the gag or the acting bit was. This time we learned a lot from last time, but we wanted a little bit more out of this one in specialty stuff. We had the dogs, I think it was just over 5 months to work with cast and those stunts. It's just when you're bringing in the stunt teams, and we have different stunt teams on this one because it's so much bigger. The dog has to, get to. It's just like friends. You have to get to know your friends. So in order for the dog to be very playful and safe and have the confidence just like a human would, they have to spend time with each individual stunt guy. So we had to rotate every hour. One of our 10 main stunt team guys would go and play. That was his job. He had to go play with the dogs and get tackled by the dogs and play frisbee with the dog. So you get acclimated to our canine friend, and then that's how we started working it. But it was about a little over 5 months.
Yeah, I'm always wondering if the dogs ever go home with any of the stunt performers, to really bond.
Yeah, no, they go home with the trainers. Like every trainer is in charge of like one animal that goes home, and they live with them and go. But the stunt guys spend a lot. If they're not in the stunt rehearsal hall with Keanu or cast or choreographing, they're with the dogs. They don't take them home, but they spend a lot of time with the animals. Yeah.
Clancy Brown makes an appearance in the trailer.
Yeah, Clancy.
Listen, I love Clancy, and obviously that's a little nod to anytime I see Clancy, I just see Highlander.
I do too.
So how does he have just a small role? Who does he play?
He has a pivotal role. He plays a character called the Harbinger, who is everything that word stands for.
I understand.
He gives the whole sentiment, and he's like our high table referee.
Oh, because he's giving out the guns. Yes. Yeah, I get it.
He's our officiate.
Same question about Shamir.
Shamir's a whole different kind of character. His character's name's the Tracker. Again, name says it all. And everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got a reason. Everybody's got a motivation. His is, at least initially, self-motivated. He becomes a character that's in the gray area between the two worlds, the Wick world and the real world.
Who does Hiroyuki play?
Hiroyuki Sanada. I've known Hiroyuki forever, been a fan of his forever, like 30-year fan, and finally getting to work with him because he works with Dave a lot. Dave's always been on get him for on whether it's Wolverine or Bullet Train or anything like that. And I had him on. He was originally going to play a part for me in John Wick 3, but he tore his Achilles tendon right before he came. So that's how the whole Mark Dacascos thing came out. Hiroyuki had a bail the surgery, so then we went to our friend Mark Dacascos. On this, it was like literally as soon as I knew what I was going to write, I was like, "Don't take another gig. Make sure you tell me you're in John Wick 4. Now you're just going to write the part." So he was cool. He plays an old friend of John Wick's.
If I'm not mistaken, in the trailer, there's footage of him fighting Donnie.
He has a moment with Donnie Yen. Yes, he does. I mean, when you have Hiroyuki Sanada, Donnie Yen going at it, it's always fun. And when you have guys that come from the action genre world and like they both love to act, it's funny they all have that similar thread. They just don't want to they don't want to be tropey. They want to try something new. They're very brave. It's not like falling back into the same, let's just do the style I'm good at. Because you have Hiroyuki that's used to the Japanese way of doing things, very precise. And you have Donnie that's really, the epitome of Hong Kong action of let's just be great and make it up on the day and get the energy. So to put them together and to find a little organic mix was really fun. And they had a good time. I think the respect was there and super courteous to each other. And literally just, we had all our grand ideas of choreography and stuff. And then it comes down to two guys just doing it really well. And you watch and you're like, oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. Let these guys do their thing.
When they were fighting in the film, did you notice that an awful lot of people needed to be on set that day?
Yeah, like there was no shortage of stunt people on the sidelines. Like everybody came out to watch.
Yeah,
they're great humans, incredibly creative and super talented. So yeah, of course, there's the natural charisma that you just want to watch these guys do their thing. And the funny thing is, these guys couldn't be happier doing their thing. There's no there's no insecurity. There's no what people going to think. Like they're actually having you yell cut. It's supposed to be a serious scene, but you yell cut, and they're like, these great guys high five at each other. And I watch it. Hiroyuki and Donnie Yen high five each other. And go, good job, thank you. What can I do for just like great stunt guys? They're like, how can I make you look better? Like so giving. Talk
a little bit about with the trailer. How much did you debate how much to show? And can you sort of talk about that line? Because obviously you want to hold stuff back, but you also need to get people in the theater.
Look, brutally honest. I don't know a single director, including myself, that would want to do more than a 10-second trailer. If it was up to me, I wouldn't show anything. I'd give you 15 seconds and make it all a mystery because that's what I dig. And I get into the argument with marketing all the time. And look, I've learned my lesson on that. Like you and I are hardcore genre guys. Like we get like we like them like but to get the movie out there, to get the fans, look, I'm always the same. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there's too much. You got to cut it down. And Keanu's the same way. We're all the same way. And they're like, we get it. We get it. You got to protect and your baby and stuff. And then they go through the rationale behind it. You're like, all right, maybe I should just shut up and let you guys. So I'm fairly resistant right off the bat. I'm like, oh my god, there's a. I was like, oh my god, it's showing me 15 seconds. And then you got to listen after I blow my fuse, yell and go freak out and bang my head and scream and threaten. And then they go, okay, crazy director guy, let's talk. Now that we're going to market you. Like, all right, that's pretty smart. I think being a director that knows how to market something is being a good director that knows how to shut up and let the pros do their thing. And they invite me in for the creative, which is cool. About well, look, if there's a better shot, if there's a better way you try to help with that. But I try not to delve too much into the marketing plan. I've been proven wrong before. And again, if it was my way, you wouldn't see any of the movie till we got there. So I'm going to go with what I learned in the last couple of years of trust your marketing team and try to support them as best you can and help them out creatively and logistically as much as you can. And hopefully that'll be a good campaign. So
yeah, I've wondered, and I've mentioned this to marketing people, but like, we're with the internet and everyone always looking for content all the time. I mean, was there ever any thought of like you and Keanu just sort of sitting around and like looking at the camera, be like, hey, I'm Chad. Hey, I'm Keanu. We have a new John Wick movie coming out in March. And, it's going to be pretty good, blah, blah, blah. Like, some bullshit kind of a thing that, and then at the end, you're doing like 10 seconds of footage.
Right. I think, you know what, that's a great idea on the next one for sure. John Wick 5. I think it's just a personality thing. Like, look, we all know movies that do market like that. And it also comes to that personality. Like look, like that's a Ryan Reynolds thing. Like he likes
Sure.
it. Like Ryan's got that personality. Like he's out in it, and that works for him. And he's got the personality to pull that off. I personally am not that guy. I just want to sit there. Like I love riffing with you about like I could go down every toy and back you right there and have a story with you. I'm good with that. And if you want to have a glass of scotch over it, we're good. I'll try to stay out of the lens as much as possible. And you've met Keanu and stuff like that. He's a reserved guy that wants to nerd out with you too in the back room. And plus, I think Keanu and I are both the same. We want you guys to experience John Wick. We want you to have it. You don't need us to talk about it. Go see it for the character. Go see it for the guy. If anything, we'll give you the cool, hey, this is Chad. This is Keanu. Thank you. It's more of a thank you. Like, thank you so much for liking the crazy stuff we put on screen. Best of luck. Take it for what you will and have fun.
You are collaborating again with Dan on the cinematography.
Yeah.
I really love Dan's work. Can you talk about the aesthetic that you guys were going for with this taking place around the world and not really in New York City, the way the previous films have been? And maybe are you trying to use different colors or you know what I mean? To try to differentiate this one.
Totally. Look, the whole vibe on this whole thematic was okay. Let's try to be an art film. We're gonna blow shit. We're gonna try and be very artsy. We're gonna take all this modern art, lighting stuff, whether it's like Olaf Eliasson or Carell or any of these great modern artists that use light. Let's try to imitate and try to use that in every set piece. So we up our lighting game, and we let you know that it's, again, neon noir is probably one of the best descriptive terms I've heard of our franchise, and that's what we wanted to do. Combine that with thematic set pieces that happen in Japan. So you have your cherry blossoms, your reds, your pinks, your purples, your softer colors that you don't get in action movies a lot. Combined it with the greens and the grit of like Berlin at its like techno best. And then you can go with the shine and the glitz of Paris. And then you can tie that all together with the rich magic hour gold of the desert, of the Sahara Desert, of the Jordanian desert. I mean, that's kind of where we went. We're going to go, okay, we're going to go big artsy lighting film, and we're going to take cues from the locations we're in. Like what's your best anime version of Osaka? What's your anime version of Berlin? And what's your anime version of either New York or Jordan?
In the previous films, there's always been one set piece that really was the pain in the ass, the one that you fucking hated. Which set piece is it in this one, and how did you solve it?
Wow. I love them all, Steve. I love them all. Some are harder to bring up. I would say there's 3 that were always like you've already mentioned, the Arc de Triomphe. Trying to pull that off and do what we did in it with 100 drivers was interesting. Um, also interesting, I guess. We have a club sequence that we did in Berlin, which you see in the trailer. It uses a lot of water features. So if you don't mind being under about 1 million gallons of water every night with 300 dancers and stuff like that, it's a cool vibe, but it can wear on you a little bit. And then we have a sequence that's not in any of the trailers, so I don't give anything away, but it was the trickiest logistically and mathematically hard to figure out about how to pull everything off as we did. And I think that's the one that'll kind of pop the most in the movie. So we'll talk about that again soon, I'm sure.
100%. I know I'm just about out of time with you, so I'm just going to ask. You've been linked to a whole bunch of projects in terms of what you're going to direct, and I am curious: what is actually going to happen after Wick 4? Are you actually going to make a different thing? Do you know what that's going to be, or is it too early to figure out?
It's not too early, but I haven't quite figured it out. Look, the projects I'm attached to, I do love our latest version of Highlander. I do love the script I currently have for Ghost of Tsushima. There's just a couple other things that are filling out between cast and logistics with the studio about where, how, when, and who's going to, how the thing actually comes out. We're at that weird spot in the industry now between streaming and features and theatrical and what is and what isn't and where studios want to put their money. And I think, I'm tied to a lot of genre stuff like Wick. It's a weird thing. Highlands are weird. I have a weird take on it. Ghost of Tsushima, all Japanese cast, period piece in the Kurosawa kind of anime aesthetic. And they're just trying to figure out where we best, or where I can reach the biggest audience. Where can we do the most work? Where can we get the best budget for it and go? So like creatively, I would love to do 9 out of 10. Like you read about Black Samurai, which is an incredible series of books from the 70s that we've had a fucking fantastic take on that I'd really love to jump into too. It's just, unfortunately, they're all big, specialistic kind of genre projects that take a lot of prep. So we're kind of in a little race who can get their shit together first, and then that's the one I'll probably go with. And we're pretty close. So
that's the thing that so many people don't realize is that like you're attached to all these different projects, but it's about what script is the best one that has come up, what has the actors, scheduling availability, what I mean? It's these weird things that people don't realize that really control your decisions.
If you rush into any one thing, you can get, I don't think most people realize how bad. People always ask, well, I get asked, why are there so many bad movies? And like, if you knew the working parts, the real question is, how are there so many good movies? Because like, it's astounding to realize how fast so much money and so many movie parts can go to shit. It really can. Like, just because you're a little too anxious or you miss a step or you don't get the right financing, next thing you know, that actor falls out and this location falls out. So next thing you're doing a soundstage in Budapest for, a Bahama movie, and it literally goes to shit that quick over, group thinking, oh yeah, we'll get through that one problem. Well, it's not one problem. The ripple effect is 1,000 problems. So you try to get as many fucking positive things, like you get your cast, you get your crew, you get your location, you get your budget, you get your schedule. You got that much, you can make a movie. You miss any one of those things, you have problems. That's the trick always.
The other thing though, is that, Lionsgate, being blunt, is, the John Wick universe is now expanding with Ballerina, with the Continental, with the whole John Wick movies, and I don't even know what else they're thinking about. But I mean, I'm assuming also they're going to say to you right after you finish 4, so when do you guys want to make 5? They did
that a couple weeks ago, Steve. It's all good.
Well, by the way, I'm sure they are, because this is a it's a very, very popular franchise.
And we're lucky to have them. I mean, Nathan Kahane and Joe Drake and all the guys over there, they're super positive. They love it. They love seeing the smile on our face. We go, they're super supportive. They get it. And if it was them, I'm sure, as long as Keanu wanted to do it, I'm sure they'd find a way to make it happen. So that's always something that you just makes you feel fortunate, makes you feel lucky. So that's good.
Oh, no, completely. The fact of the matter that yes, everyone who gets to work in Hollywood is very lucky. Yeah, so basically you really don't know after you wrap on 4 what you're going to do next.
I have my hopes, Steve. Let's see if they come true.